Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy day before Thanksgiving. Yay. It's a fun day. Okay, well, so we're going to start off with something that's not as fun. So let's get the boring stuff out in the morning. It's kind of like Thanksgiving. That is boring, but the first part of the day, and I hope that you help, is usually cooking, waiting on the turkey if that's what you're having, getting all the food prepared and set up and ready to go, which it is fun. But at the same time, the second part of the day is when you eat, and then the desserts and all that fun stuff. So I think actually probably the third part of the day is the most boring. It's when you have to do all the dishes. So I suggest you clean as you go. All right. But we do have an important safety training. It's on what our procedure is for an environmental hazard and when we have to shelter in place if we were at program, right? So, well, let's go over it. So when we have to shelter in place, it could be for a couple of reasons, but that would mean that we were on site. If we were out in the community and we had to shelter in place, it would be us staying by the van, and that's why we have the emergency supplies in the van. We have water, we have food bars, we have an emergency blanket, we have a fire extinguisher just in case we needed that. We have all sorts of stuff: first aid, band-aids, ointment, gauze bandages, all sorts of stuff, tweezers, anything that you might need just in case somebody got injured during it. But this is for an environmental hazard, so we're thinking more if we were on site and this were to happen. Environmental hazard, the things that we have to worry about, we don't need to worry about. Hurricanes, we don't get those. Tornadoes, we don't get those. So the things could be mudslides due to heavy rain. That is something that could happen depending on where you are. And it could possibly happen at program. Just depending. Then there's also, of course, earthquakes, fires, definitely wildfires. That's something that could happen. Blackouts, things like that. These things can happen, but mostly like earthquakes, things like that. So if there was something major that were going to happen, we would need to know what the procedures are if we had to shelter in place and say we just need to hunker down on program. And depending on where you are, there's going to be water. Even if the water was shut off and you couldn't use the water, we have big, giant gallons of water. We also have extra food. It's a non-perishable food, which basically just means that it doesn't really go bad. We have extra flashlights, we have all sorts, but it's important to know that we have all that stuff. But what would we do, and what is the procedure if we had to shelter in place? So I have the guidelines here. So for an environmental hazard, so in California, what way they do have, and you hear it, I think it's the first something. I don't remember which day of the week it is. Maybe it's the first day of the month. I'm not sure. But right at about noon, they have this loud siren that goes off because they need to test it so that everybody can hear it. But it's like, when you hear that, but if it's not that day, then that's when you need to pay attention and be like, something's going wrong. So when the early warning system alarm sounds, or an email message is received, or an alert is heard over the National Weather Service radio, staff will immediately ensure that all individuals are inside the building and accounted for. So that's all of us. Just to make sure that's why we stay with our group. So if something happened, it's like, okay, we're all together, and we make sure we do a head count, and we can all do this together. I mean, it is ultimately up to staff to make sure that they're keeping track of their group. But at the same time, when it comes to an emergency, we're all in it together. So we make sure that everybody's accounted for. And if all of us are accounted for, we don't go around trying to help other people at that time. At the time of an emergency, you really need to make sure that who you're with and everything there, that we're safe. We got to make sure that we're safe first, just like in, like, say it comes to CPR, first aid, or anything like that. First thing you got to do, if you're going to be giving compressions or anything like that, is you have to make sure you're safe too. So safety is number one. Make sure that you're safe as well as everyone else. But first, make sure you're safe. 2 people down is worse than just 1 person down, unfortunately. So we make sure that everybody's accounted for. If we're at George Miller and we're doing a cooking class, we make sure that everybody's accounted for. That's first thing. Second, all doors and windows will be closed and locked. Any gaps can be covered with either duct tape or wet towels or cloths. So, if we're in the kitchen, there's definitely going to be duct tape there. So we could duct tape everything that way. Most of the windows are kind of hermetically sealed, and so we should be fine there. But if we see anything escaping, we need to make sure we're taping that up or putting cloth or towels and things like that down. Number 3, heating and cooling systems will be turned off to ensure that the air from the outside does not flow into the building. If the building becomes uncomfortably warm, fans can be used to circulate air. We do have fans, yes, in pretty much every program. So what I'm thinking is the only rooms that we really use, because we're not going to be in the adult program, we're not going to be in camp, we're going to be in the kitchen, or we're going to be in ASP. So we need to know where the fans are there, and we know where they are. ASP, it's in that one separate room. In the kitchen, there's a big closet. The only other place that we might be would be in the office, and, well, plenty of people know exactly where everything is there. But we'd still need to make sure. And we don't want to get too warm. So, then fourthly, radios will be turned to local station KCBS 740 AM and televisions to local stations to stay informed of the emergency and to be made aware when the all clear is sounded. For those programs registered to receive email alerts, the all clear will also be conveyed through email message. So basically we'll be listening for, and when they say all clear, that means you can actually leave the room. But that will still be a very slow process. We'll make sure that everybody's okay, accounted for. We'd probably meet at our emergency meeting places for fires or anything like that. If we were in a building, we'd go wait in those places and account for everyone, make sure everyone's accounted for. Then would probably be contacting families and making sure that we can get home. Number 5, there is no need to call 911 unless there is a medical emergency. So if somebody was hurt, knock on wood, we don't want that to happen, then we would definitely call 911. Number 6, a designated staff member will call the Vistability Administration offices to inform them that the facility has been advised to shelter in place. Okay, so never mind. We might not actually be leaving. So then we would still shelter in place. But they just said they had the all clear, so I'm confused. But, okay, so the way I see it then is, okay, so we hear the alarm, then we're going to shelter in place in the room. Yeah, this is more confusing than it needs to be. So then we shelter in place in the room. And then when we get the all clear that it's okay to kind of move out and unduct tape everything and kind of move about, then we're going to shelter in place at program. And then somebody will let the administrative office that we're sheltering in place. Number 7, if necessary, designated staff will also call families, care providers of everyone to inform them of the event and that they have implemented shelter-in-place response to the emergency. Any incoming calls from families, care providers will be provided with the same information. So we'll say we're sheltering in place, we have everything we need, everyone's accounted for, we would give everybody that information. And of course, we would also be calling families, probably per group. Whoever was in my group, then I'd be calling their families. But that's after we get the all clear. Until then, we stay where we're supposed to be. Okay, so number 8, activities and snacks will be provided for everyone, dependent upon the duration of the shelter-in-place advisory. So we'll have snacks, we'll have to ration it, but there will be food. So if people get hungry, we'll be able to, make sure that we have non-perishable food that everyone can eat. We'll have water. We're not going to have soda or anything like that. It's going to be water, wonderful water, because that's what we need. Number 9, staff will remain at the program site until the all clear is given. Should the shelter in place continue past normal program operating hours, staff may be asked to assist with transporting everyone to their houses, which of course we would do. We would wait till everybody's safe, and then everybody goes home and we're happy, and who knows what would happen the next day, but that day would make sure that everybody's happy, safe, and good to go. Okay, so I'm really confused a little bit about this all clear and why we're still sheltering in place. I'll get clarification at some point. But I'm guessing all clear just means that there's no more environmental hazard, but there still might be residual things that have happened, like be careful. We don't know if it's safe to go outside, but the disaster itself is over. I'm guessing that's what all clear is. Number 10, should staff be in a vehicle with other people when the early warning system alarm sounds? The staff should roll up all windows, turn off the heater or air conditioner, close all vents, and phone the facility for further instructions. So that really applies to us. So if we're out, earthquake hits, we're going to pull over, do the earthquake drill, duck, cover, and hold. As we're doing that, but depending on the emergency, like I said, it'll come over the radio, and maybe even an email alert, or you get like Amber Alerts on your phone. I'm sure something like that would happen, but would also be able to see other people being, outside, like, this is not good. So then we'd close all the windows, shut off all the vents, just so no smoke or anything can get in the vehicle. We're going to stay where we are in a safe place, and then we're going to call program and get further instruction. And lastly, designated staff will document the incident using appropriate forms. So that's for us. So, but anyway, those are the procedures for environmental hazard or shelter in place. So you know what to expect if something did happen to where it was kind of a local emergency. And again, so the all clear, and I'll get clarification on this, the all clear is just kind of all clear for whatever environmental hazard it was. That sheltering in place is until we really get word that it's okay to start taking people home, because we don't want if power lines are down and things like that. We want to make sure that we're not running into any of that. That would be awful. So, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, anything like that, please let me know. Again, this is the less fun part of the day before Thanksgiving, but happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And it's Wednesday, so it's not even really Thanksgiving. But, I know a lot of people are probably out and more thinking about the food tomorrow that you get to eat and how wonderful it's going to be. Anyway, I have another class for you later on today, and it'll be a lot more fun. So, anyway, have a good one. I will see you, or you will see me later this afternoon. All right, bye.